What's going on, guys, and how are you doing today? So we had another week of mostly set championships, but some other tournaments as well. Full information and breakdown is linked in the spreadsheet down below as always. I also got almost 100 different deck lists. I think it was like that. There's like 20 of the top couple decks and then a handful of other decks, but I have another handful of deck cores to add to it. And what those are is it shows the cards that are being played in most of these tops, not all of them. Just trying to get a pretty decent breakdown on which cards are seeing play and at what percentages, what ratios, and how often, all that good stuff to help you guys when you're trying to deck build. Again, link down below. Also, we have our Patreon giveaway going on for one box of first chapter still. All that information is linked down below and on that spreadsheet. But without further ado, the 2-week running total tops. These are the cards that got their Ursulas. Which decks are getting their Ursula the most? Very, very little surprise is Bucky Discard as the number one deck, 33%. Ruby Amethyst, again, not a whole lot going on there, 24%. This deck is actually increasing. Bucky kind of was right in that a third range last week, and Ruby Amethyst was about a fifth, so like 20%. So they did go up a bit. Then we have Blue Steel, whether wheel or no wheel, at 10%, which is down from the 14% that it was last week. Sisu Control, Ice Block Control, Popsicle Control, whatever we want to call the red-blue deck, it is right there at 10% as well with Blue Steel. And this deck actually started to come up. It was down a bit. If you remember last week, I talked about as the results come in, I thought this deck would start to peak up more and more and more. It's still slower than I expected, I'm not going to lie, but it is creeping up a little bit. Steel Song still holding on to that 5th spot at 6%. Lemon Lime Discard had a very strong showing, and it moves into that number 6 spot. Amethyst Steel still holding on pretty good at 7. The Amethyst Emerald Tempo decks coming in at the 8th best. Mufasa decks at 9. And then the other decks are coming in as everything else. And what are some of those other decks? Well, they would include Amber Amethyst Hyper Aggro, Emerald Ruby Aggro, which actually has 3, including 2 wins. It's Amber Ruby Locations. It's Lemon Lime Aggro, not Discard, which is actually the deck that my 7-year-old son will be playing this weekend at our set championship. Brooms. Brooms got a top 4. That's crazy. That's awesome. And we're going to actually show that deck list off in this video, so don't go anywhere. Amber Sapphire, again, we have that deck list to show off. And Steel Fasa also in the deck pool that got their Ursulas. So if we want to go one step further and not just talk about the Ursulas, right? So we want to move on and see who got their playmats. So now we're looking at top 2 finishes. Bucky Discard goes up a little bit, but again, it kind of right at that same total from last week at the 35%. Then Ruby Amethyst is 25%. Again, it's up from where it was last week. So this deck is, it's showing out. Ruby Amethyst has emerged as that old reliable, that deck that's just so good. It's so consistent, and it can actually go at Bucky decently well. I've heard people say it's a 65-35. It's a 60-40. I don't know. I don't think the matchup is that bad. Do I think Bucky's favored? I do. But it's probably, if I had to say, it's a 53-43 or 57-43 at the most, and it might even be closer to that 55-45 split. Sisu is still in that 3rd spot, which actually it takes it over firmly over the Blue Steel deck. From looking at the top 4 finishes. Again, last week we saw Sisu was doing really well as far as 1st and 2nd place finishes. Steel Song in that number 5 spot. And then Amethyst Steel still showing out pretty strong. Mufasa decks, Lemon Lime discard decks, and then the other decks, which we just kind of mentioned again, like the Amber Ruby locations, like the Amber Sapphire, like the Emerald Amber, or not, the Emerald Ruby evasive aggro type builds. But which decks are winning the most? And once again, it's not a huge surprise. Bucky discard taking up a third of the format. It's crazy what they did to Bucky, but the more you sit here and look at it, everyone understands why they made Bucky unplayable. People just don't like how they made Bucky unplayable. Sisu Control coming in as the number 2 deck as far as winning goes. And remember last week where Sisu had like 9 recorded tops when we did this video? Keeping in mind there's like 80 total tops when I did this video last week. Now we have over 200. So it's a much more accurate representation here. Sisu is showing out. Sisu is winning a lot. It's 110. And again, I see all kinds of people posting on Facebook like, oh, did this at my set championships. But without a little more proof or a breakdown of the event, it's hard for me to add that information all in here. Just because, you know, if we just take everyone at their word for it, it can throw things off. But there's so many events, there's so much out there that isn't in this chart. This is what's readily available. It's things where people, a couple have private messaged me their, actually I forgot a Mufasa deck. I do need to put that one in here. So when you watch the video, sorry that I forgot your list. But yeah, so this is just what's readily available. And some people like Charlie Fenton messaged me their standings, and they showed their standings. They sent their deck list, even told me the top 4 breakdown, which is great. It helps me out so much. So if you can do that, absolutely feel free to do it. But without, you know, being able to verify the standings, it's hard for me to add it in here, because what if you go win once and then you just take multiple pictures at the same mat? Not saying you do, just saying it's hard to just take people like, oh, I did this. But that's enough rambling. Ruby Amethyst is the 3rd most winning deck. Sapphire Steel. Wow, can't even talk. Steel Song comes in actually as the number 4th most winning deck. This is kind of crazy. You know, we're halfway through set championship weekend. And when we did our top 10 decks to win set championships, we said Bucky, we said Sisu, we said Ruby Amethyst, we said Steel Song number 4 over Blue Steel at 5. I'm just saying, I didn't see many other people say Steel Song would win the 4th most events. Just saying. But I digress. We had Amethyst Steel at 7th, not 6th. I was wrong. But we'll see how these next 2 weeks pan out, because there's a lot of events left. And this could change quite a bit. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I'm not even sure what deck I'm going to play at this one. It's a 16-player cap. Unfortunately, I might be on Bucky again. Otherwise, Tempo is a deck that I just absolutely love and I am very comfortable with. Or I might just conform and play Ruby Amethyst. Otherwise, Secret Sauce, Ruby, Steel. Deck is actually pretty good. Been playtesting it against Sisu, Bucky, and Ruby Amethyst a ton. And it does amazing versus Bucky. And it holds its own versus Ruby Amethyst and Ruby Sapphire. So, I might actually play that deck. So, how many times can we say that real quickly? We're going to go ahead and hop on over, though, to that spreadsheet. So, again, this information is down below. And there's a tab here, Set Championships, where it's the top 4s, 2s, 1s, all that good stuff. There's another tab where it's July 5th through the end of the format. You can click on that tab, and now we have top 64s, 32s, 16s, top 8s, and then all the 4 2s and 1s. 333 total tops. 59% of our format is Bucky and Ruby Amethyst. Wondering what counts as a top? Well, I threw a little chart here together because, whether it's 18 players or whether it's, 40 players. Top 8 isn't the same either way. So we kind of made it where, ideally 10 to 20% of the field is allowed to be considered topping. Roughly, it does change as we get a little bit bigger, but just to kind of change it a little, over here we have a small, if you guys can even see that, I didn't even look, kind of like right above my head, that way. There's a tier list here just based off percentages, not off of how good we think decks are. Like Sisu, I think is absolutely a tier 1 deck, but based on the percentage, it's not. So there is that. Also, I know someone's going to say, oh, this is more than 100%. That's because while I round up and down as much as I can, I'm not going to sit here and just put zeros. So anything with 1 just gets a 1% marker, although these are more like 0.3%. So realistically, all these 1s are technically rounded down to zeros. And we have a few deck lists to look at and to talk about. So the first one is that Broom deck that got a top 4. 38 characters, 4 actions, 11 songs, 7 locations, and $135 cost. Locations, obviously you have your Sorcerer's Tower where your brooms can move here for free, and characters here get +1 lore. It's pretty crazy. It's normally 2 to move here, but again, your brooms move here free. The 2/7 is a pretty nice stat line. The 7 being the willpower, and also 3 Queen's Castles. Just this card is insane. Then when we look at our songs, Friends on the Other Side, no question about it. That's going to be a 4 of. 4, Let the Storm Rage On, and 3, Grab Your Swords. It's a really good answer to Bucky decks. Having played this card in a few different decks, if you can have a different answer for Bucky decks, I recommend it, because this card feels so bad into like Ruby Sapphire. Something like Along Came Zeus is a really good option in this slot otherwise. But again, if Bucky's your biggest worry, absolutely, if your locals is filled with Bucky's, this card makes a lot of sense. And you can sing it with, I guess, with just your 1 broom. So with only the 1 broom who can sing it, I would argue that Avalanche could be better. It's a turn sooner to get rid of the Bucky. It doesn't quite clear like the 2 costs on the Diablos, however. So there is that. It's not going to wipe out like Little Robin Hoods. So again, Grab Your Swords can be better, but Avalanche also can take out a location. So kind of horse apiece. Both cards are good. Zeus is good. All uninkable, so some decisions to be made. This is one of those decks, also like Sapphire Steel, that can play 3 or 4 Babooms without issues. So especially if we're playing 4 Babooms, I probably would go for like Avalanche over Grab Your Sword, because it answers Bucky a turn sooner and can take out a location, and you still have those 4 answers for Diablo here. Other characters, we're playing the 1-drop Broom, and then Pascal, the 2-drop Broom, and the other 2-drop Broom. So the Aerial Cleaner, again, it's actually another answer to Bucky, or not to Bucky, to Diablo. So I really probably would play the Avalanche, because you're not singing this very often. What else do we have? 4 Yen Sids. This card is just crazy. Madam M. Fox. So no snake, just the fox, which kind of makes sense. You're not going bounce goat for game. Bouncing rabbit for card draw, though, is still pretty good. 3 of the big sweeper. While at location, it becomes a 3/5 stat line, and it's not challenger, it's +2 strength. So even on your opponent's turn, that's pretty big and strong, which is kind of the idea between it. The Bucket Brigade, I'm not huge on this card as a 4 of, but it worked for them. I really like the 1-drop. I like the Aerial Cleaner. I do like the big sweeper at 3. I agree with that. I wouldn't want to play it necessarily at 4. Merlin Rabbit at 4. Mickey Wayward Sorcerer, again, just kind of makes a lot of sense. It keeps your brooms back to your hand. It's good resource management, and you get to pay less for your brooms. So just a lot of good things that Mickey has going. And then 3 of these Swift Cleaners. So we have, 4 rabbits, 3 there. That's 7, 10, 14 uninkables. What changes would I potentially make? I'd play 4 of this card, absolutely. This is the best Broom by far. I like playing Brooms, by the way. I have not got an Ursula with it, though, so I'm not going to try to take away. If you're watching this, I envy you. You took Brooms and won an Ursula. That's amazing. And I don't think, what was it, 29 players? Or was that one of these other decks I had? Anyway, getting off topic. I'd probably say cut the 3 grab your swords for like 2 avalanche and a 4th magic broom here. I do like that they're not playing like the Bruno package, where you just play Bruno, call magic brooms, get the 3 lore for it. It's cheeky and it's not that competitive. It can hit, and believe me, when it hits it feels so good, but if you're trying to build optimally, I do really like that the Bruno engine is not in there. So the next deck we're going to go to is I suppose I could have just scrolled up to see. This one was a 24-person event, and this got first place. It's one of the Steel Song decks, and when we look at it, we see the Golden Harp popping up. I think this was in one of the other ones as well. So at the end of your turn, if you didn't play a song, banish this character. Please don't play this card on turn 1. Please. We're also playing 4 Cinderellas and 4 Robin Hoods on turn 1. In this 2 spot, you have the 4 Smees, 3 Ursulas. This deck is starting to be figured out and kind of just flatlining. There's a few flex spots, such as the Golden Harp, the Ursulas even. We've seen Piglet make its way in there. 4 Ariels, 3 Benjas. I like Benja. The deck has other answers too. Something else you could consider, because Benja quests for 2 and obviously is on play, whereas something like Aladdin is recursive. So Aladdin, Benja, sorry, I'm gonna have to get a water. Aladdin and Benja, both 2 pretty good options. I do like Benja more in Steel Song. Obviously, Bucky discard, you're gonna play Aladdin because it's a Floodborn. You could also, we see they're not playing it, but you could play a Find 'em Platinum. I do like it as a 1-of, actually, because your blue steel matchup is less than favorable. Or maybe it's not that bad, but like your blue red matchup is much less than favorable. And Find 'em Platinum being able to just wipe out their items and cut off that Hero Draw engine completely feels really, really strong. The Gaston, the Baritone Bully is a 3 of, just more Singer. 4 Rapunzels. Again, this kind of started to get played last format and it just stuck, and it makes sense. She quests, she has 5 willpower, she heals your cards, and she draws. Robin Hood at 4, and 2 Cinderella Stouthearted. So no Queen package in here. Makes sense, like for the cards you're putting in with like the Gastons, the Golden Harps. Other things need to come out. The Queen package is what suffers. Songs, you might also notice there's no items, there's no flute, there is no Pride Lands as a location. Sorry, songs and characters. We got 4 Bare Necessities, 4 Storm Rage on, 4 Strength of the Raging Fire. Bare Necessities actually been seeing a lot of play as a 1-of. It's kind of neat to see it back at 4. And again, this build is being different. And with the Golden Harp, you really want to hit a song every turn once she's out. So you need just those early songs. 1 World's Greatest Criminal Mind, 3 Zeus, 4 Whole New Worlds, and the 1 Grab Your Sword. I can't really say what changes I would make, just because if I were to play Steel Song, it would not be the Golden Harp version. So without completely changing this version of the deck into a different version of Steel Song, I'm not gonna sit here and say the changes again, because that would be my change. I would feel more comfortable playing a more standard Steel Song deck. But again, a lot of information in that spreadsheet if you want to see how many people are playing the harp, how many people aren't, and all that good stuff. So this was the 29 player one, not the Broom one, and it got first. Heroes for Hire. For Hire is actually a pretty fun Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Undersupported, but they had their time. Well, a couple of their cards did. Anyway, this isn't Yu-Gi-Oh. This is Lorcana. So getting back on subject, Amber Sapphire. This is probably what a lot of people consider one of the worst color combinations in the game right now. And at $44, it's probably the most budget deck that won a set championship. Yes, won a set championship. And it was not 10 players. It was 29 players. 4 Kita, 4 Lilo, 4 3-Stitch, 4 Anna, 4 Aurora, 4 Piglet, 4 Simba, 2 Wendy, 4 Caterpillar, 4 Donald Duck, 4 Hans, 2 Judys, 4 Annas, then Prince Charming, Aurora, Kita, Nani, Stitch, all at 2 and 3 manners. So, maybe we could do a whole video breaking this down a bit more. So let's kind of look at some of the cards, right? Stitch Rockstar. This is your late game. You can shift into it on 4, quest for 3, and whenever you play a character at 2 or lost cost, you get to draw a card by exerting them, by the way. So, like, if you play your Simba, your bodyguard, don't exert it. Like, don't play him as bodyguard. Play him. Use your Stitch to exert him so you can draw a card. But that's why we see so many 1 and 2 drops. Like, we have, 2, 4, 10, 14, 18, plus another 11. So 29 1 and 2 drops for that Stitch Rockstar. Nani coming in is just a 3/6 big bodyguard who quests for 2. Kita, Protector of Atlantis, really strong card, shifting. And you may notice too, Hero, Hero, Hero. Does that matter? Yes, it does. We have the Aurora, Hero. Your other characters gain Ward. That's pretty good. Quest for 2. That's pretty good. She does fall victim to Medusa, but she protects your other cards from getting Medusa'd. Prince Charming is just a 3 quester on turn 4. Anna, whenever this character quests, your other heroes gain +1 lore. So there we see it. We're playing 4 of her. She's a queen, hero, knight, all that good stuff. But she quests for 2, and again, all your other characters get +1 lore. And you may have noticed Prince Charming, hero, Judy Hopps, doesn't want to update for us. You can get rid of an item and draw a card, or, get rid of your item, draw a card, but you're not playing any. Get rid of your opponent's item. They do get to draw a card, but you can get rid of like a clutch item such as a lucky dime, and it feels really strong. Quest for 2 as well. Then you have your Hans here, but he's a villain. That doesn't work, right? Like, why are you playing a villain? When you play this character, if a queen or princess is in play, you gain 1 lore. Guess what? Wow, can't say it. I'm really struggling to talk, guys. I apologize. Your Kita, princess. Aurora, princess. Princess or queen, so Prince Charming don't matter. Anna, queen. And then we have our little ones too. Is the little Anna a princess? Probably. Not wanting to update. But anyway, so you're piggybacking things like your Anna and your Hans off of the princess, the queens, the heroes, and you're gaining extra effects for it. Caterpillar's a 1/3/3 cost who quests for 3. He's a 1/3, so that means he survives Grab Your Swords. He survives Storm Rage on. He survives. Well, I guess he doesn't survive Brawl. Brawl does get him, so that's a big downside. But he survives a lot, and having 3 willpower is actually really strong. If you can get 6 lore off this card, that's good value. Wendy Darling also. Prioritizing cards that don't just get one-shotted by Storm Rage on or by Baboom is kind of seemingly the focus of this deck early. 4 Simbas, 4 Piglets, 4 Auroras, 4 Annas. So shifting Aurora is another play they go for. The Stitch, the Lilo obviously, and Kitas. What would I maybe change? What would I change? Personally, I'm not huge on 4 or 2 Nani, 2 Kita. I'd rather just play 4 Kitas. Because, like, what if they have a wide board and they're able to take out your Nani, right? Or they have, like, a Maui in hand. Maui one-shots Nani, and then their board can trade with your board. Whereas if you play a Kita, their Maui's still going to one-shot something, but their board can't do anything to your board then. So you lose 1 versus more than 1. So I guess personally I would play 4 Kita and 0 Nani as one early thing I'm just noticing. What other 4s? You have Anna on 4. You could shift Kita on 4, shift Stitch on 4. shift Aurora on 4 potentially. Obviously, you could do it on 3 with Kita or Aurora. Just looking at reasons why, if Prince Charming is worth it. He quests for 3, so that's why he's here. I'd almost want to play like the 2 Prince Charmings as 2 more Auroras and the 2 Nani as 2 more Kita. And then using like Kita, Aurora, and Anna as your kind of 3 power cards that you're truly going for. Donald Duck, the bodyguard, also when you play him, you get to give an extra lore to another character for that turn. Really strong. Potentially make like a caterpillar quest for 4 is really, really good. Or a piglet. But yeah, overall, I really, really do like the deck. Like I said, I'd make those few changes, probably go to 4 Aurora, 4 Kitas, and cut some of them other 2-ofs down. But it worked for them. Again, 29 players, first place. Congratulations. We have one more deck that we're going to go over, and that is Green Steel. Yay, Green Steel. But it's not Bucky. This one is Green Steel Wheel Song. It's the Green Steel Wheel. So we have 4 Pegasus, 4 Robin Hoods as our 1-drops. You're going for like a shifty control build, which again makes sense. You're turning on that's Whole New World on turn 3 from your Pegasus or your Robin Hood. You also have 3 Morphs on turn 2. You're paying the Ursula to hit their songs. Obviously, that card's just crazy. Only 3 Deceiver of All. I like that a lot. In Bucky discard too, I actually cut Deceiver of All completely, and then I put her back in at 3. I think it's a happy medium. Even at 2, she's alright. It's just another option you can go for. 2 Donald Duck on 4. 4 Muses to be able to bounce when you're playing your songs, and there's 20 of them. 3 Tragic Hero. I wonder if they liked 3 Tragic Hero or if they only had 3 Tragic Hero. A lot of my decks, I don't put Tragic Hero in because I don't own any, so I try to test things that I own. We also have 3 Pegasus Cloud Racer, 4 Robin Hoods, 3 Lady Tremaine, Wicked Stepmother, and this is the one where when you play this character, you may return an action from your discard to your hand. Do I like her? 4 Tinkerbell and 3 Cinderella, by the way, too. Keeping in mind, songs are actions as well, so you have 24 actions. I guess it gives you a lot of utility, right? Like, she can get back any of your songs. She can get back Ba-Boom. We're also playing Do It Again, which return an action card from your discard to your hand. So 3 Tremaine, 2 Do It Agains to be able to get those Ba-Booms back, to get Strike a Good Match. Probably not. Storm Rage On, though. Zeus you could get back. Whole New World you could get back, which this could be really strong, like those times where you have 2 or 3 Whole New Worlds in your hand and it feels so bad. Well, Lady Tremaine and Do It Again allow you to get that Whole New World back from your discard, so allowing you to take more advantage of it. 1 Find 'em Platinum. We kind of talked about that with the Steel Song deck, not the Green Steel Song deck. But again, with the Do It Again and the Lady Tremaines, you can actually grab this card back and sing it again. So that is it for this week's update. Took a little bit longer. I think the deck lists were a little more fun to look at. And congratulations to everyone who is doing well at their set championships. Hopefully our luck turns around a little bit better. I tried a slightly different Bucky build this past weekend. I got more aggressive with it, again, because I don't own the Tragic Heroes. And my thought going in was, well, the other weekend there was like 4 or 5 Bucky players. And if there's 5 Bucky players, me being one of them, I'm okay with that, because I felt like the aggro version has a good matchup into everything except the mirror match. So naturally, I played the mirror match. Then I destroyed 2 Ruby decks. And then I played a mirror match. Still very, very close, though. Almost won games 2 and 3 in that last mirror match. And had we done it, our tiebreakers were good enough that we would have squeaked into that 8th place finish. And we would have been paired up with Ruby Amethyst, which I'm very confident in that matchup, as long as I don't just like completely brick. But coulda, woulda, Shoulda. Does not matter. We didn't get there. Again, congratulations to everyone who did so far, and good luck to everyone who is going this weekend. Again, I'm bringing my 7-year-old and his hyper aggro deck. So I might not play certain decks just based on that, because testing, well, that deck puts in work against Ruby decks, and I really feel like that's what's going to be popular in this different event. So best of luck to him. Best of luck to you guys. I'm done rambling. If you stuck around this long, you're awesome. Thank you, and until next time, take care.